Hi Malika.
Hi Harley.
Hello everybody listening. Welcome back to Sonder and Salt, the weekly food podcast about the magic of eating.
Oh, I missed it. Yeah.
Oh, what a shame. Today we have a very special guest joining us on the podcast. You guys have really enjoyed the guests that we've had the last few episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Before we bring in another one, today we are joined by none other than Lorraine Copes.
Hi Lorraine.
Hello.
Welcome to Sonder and Salt.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
Very, very happy to have you. We keep bumping into you places.
Yeah.
Keep bumping into places.
Especially this one.
I know. I see
I was
Lorraine
gonna say
all the time.
it's a lot of Malika bumping into people these days.
I know Lorraine. You know Lorraine, but obviously
Yes.
the listeners may not know Lorraine. So, as a quick intro, Lorraine Copes is a multi-award winning social entrepreneur, community builder, hospitality pro, speaker, and life coach. With over 20 years in the hospitality industry, Lorraine has managed and even directed the purchasing and supply for some of your favourites, which include Shake Shack and Gordon Ramsay restaurants. In 2020, Lorraine founded Be Inclusive Hospitality, which is a not-for-profit organisation building a thriving community to accelerate race equity within hospitality, food and drink. Lorraine is originally from Birmingham, but currently residing in London.
South London.
To be exact.
South
Yeah.
London.
Did I capture everything?
You did. I'm also a board member, but we'll just add that to it.
Sorry.
We'll get into that. We'll get into that at a point in this podcast. Founder of Be Inclusive Hospitality. In your words, what is it? What is Be Inclusive
What is
Hospitality?
it? Be Inclusive Hospitality is a community of individuals and businesses who recognise that there are race disparities in the hospitality industry and want to move the needle forward. And so we do that in a variety of ways. We take a really holistic approach. We produce research. We deliver initiatives to support people to move forwards and upwards. And we work with businesses who want to be inclusive, to be more inclusive. So, all anchored in community.
And what, for my sake and listeners' sake, hospitality, I feel like we hear a lot about the hospitality industry. Like, what does that comprise of? So to me, that's restaurants, that's wait staff, chefs.
Hotels as
Hotels. Caterers. Okay.
Cafes. It's quite broad in terms of
what it
subsectors
is.
within that, for sure. But then all the roles within that, in terms of employees as well as founders. So we have founders within our network. So, black and brown people who either own drinks brands, own restaurants, food brands.
So anything that intersects with the hospitality industry.
Like food and drink sectors. Exactly.
Any supplied into these things. Okay, that's interesting because I wouldn't have thought of that.
Yeah.
Like you hear hospitality stuff all the time, especially in light of restaurants closing and people saying things about the hospitality industry.
Yeah.
It probably comes across very much as baristas and waiters.
Yeah.
Like,
and I've never been either of those.
Yeah.
And it's such a really broad and really dynamic industry, and I think that there's a PR piece to be conducted about what the industry is and what opportunities actually exist within the industry, because it's really far and wide. Operation staff is it's a small part. It's the biggest part percentage wise,
right.
But obviously you have marketeers, you have finance, you have procurement, you have law, you have
So your business functions across all of those industries of any hospitality business?
Yes. What our members are made up of people from those intersects of the industry.
Yeah, that's really important as well, because I think in light of last couple of years of strikes and unionization and people not really knowing like what club they belong to, it would be interesting for people to know. I know we've got a lot of people that work within hospitality that listen to the podcast, that there's something that they can be a part of if they are like the finance team of a massive chain, throw out Wetherspoons, for example. Something like that they could actually be a part of this. Who do you think, or who can you say on air are like people that, or companies that are working with you that you're proud to say work with you and you feel like are doing the change and the things that you recommend and stuff like that?
I always look quite objectively about the work that we do within this space. And the reason why I say this is because the reason why we were incorporated is to support people of colour to move forwards and upwards, to create pathways for access to funding, to mentorship, to improve social capital and all of these things. The businesses that we work with, and we work with a variety of businesses who, am I going to mention? I could mention, but I won't. And I'll tell you why I won't. Is because when people think about equity, diversity and inclusion, or whatever you want to call it, they think about destination. Right. So this business is doing this work and they are. Okay. And it's not as transactional as that at all. The businesses that we work with, we're really fortunate that the businesses that we work with, they're not really particularly interested in signalling that they're doing the work or even working with us.
Yeah.
Nice.
They're interested in doing the work.
Yeah.
And it's only up until, so we've been incorporated for 3 years, only up until about 18 months ago, we started to actually put our partners on our website, their brands, because previously we just didn't want to attract any performative businesses that want to associate with us. So just kind of summarizing that in saying, the businesses that we work with, and we're talking about like global brands, we're talking about national chains, they all recognize that there's ongoing education required to drive change.
Yes.
And that there's a multi-pronged approach required to drive change. So we work as a consultant and a partner to businesses providing all of those things.
So when you say diversity, equity and inclusion, what does that mean for you from your perspective, given that it kind of underpins the work that you do? For a lot of people, what they'll hear is people given opportunities that aren't necessarily deserving, but because they are
ticking boxes,
part of the periphery and ticking boxes, like Carly said, they're afforded these things and it's not necessarily fair.
I think really importantly, I mean, we don't even use the term EDI anymore. We use the term education and resource because that's what we support for businesses and our community. But what I would say is anyone that understands like the historical context of race in the UK, Europe and further afield, and then understands that we're not all running the same race, and then that also understands that in order to close the gap, equality doesn't really work because we're all starting in different places with different disadvantages. If you have that understanding, then you understand why it's necessary. And if you don't have that understanding, then it feels like a tick in the box. What I will say as far as ticking the boxes, and I have these conversations all the time with founders of businesses, CEOs, and I've sat on boards for, as you mentioned, the Gordon Ramsay Group, Corbin & King, Shake Shack, and there's never been a boardroom or board meeting where for each of the key functions there aren't deliverables and there's measures. It doesn't matter what it is.
It's a business.
Right?
So that's facts.
Like
And so if we're talking about EDI, we can't just deliver some initiatives and hope that the dynamic of the organisation change. There's got to be measures. So if achieving profitability in a business is ticking a box, then so is D&I. You know, simple as that. And it's interesting actually because the idea of what it means to progress on EDI, especially around race, often really differs from moving forward on EDI from a gender perspective. And I find that really interesting because I think people accept and understand the idea that, if there's not gender parity, if there's not 50-50 women on boards, and that's a problem. But if it's to do with race, then we can't tick boxes. And I'm like, that's interesting. Feels like the same kind of thing.
Yeah, very. But I think there's also an issue with intersectionality when that comes along, because that's where that you will fill your board with women, or maybe not fill, have a few, and then there will be white women.
Yeah, of course.
But I think that's because the lack of intersectionality, people don't see that there could be 2 or 3 or 4 issues that exist at once. With someone's gender, the sexuality, their religion,
sure.
so many reasons that inclusivity is past black and brown, and white, black and brown. So that's actually really interesting. Are there any terms as well? You just said that you don't use certain terms. What other terms do you find that are not very useful within?
I hate all of the terms. Listen, so I moved from black and brown to black ethnic minority. I hate that too. I hate all of them. I hate them.
Why?
So what do you say? What do you refer to?
So I'm a black person. I'm a black woman.
Yes.
And I hate the idea of labels. However, in order to do this work and to look at data
and to communicate,
we have to use them. And the latest one is global majority. Yeah. And
that's the one. That's the one I'm in favour of.
And I lean to it. However, the audiences that I speak to are really broad, and some people don't know what the hell I'm talking about. And I suppose I could educate them, or I could use language they understand.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm at a point. So I've got a new joiner to my business later this year, and she will be overseeing marketing. She's got a marketing background, and one of her tasks will be our language.
Right, yeah.
Because if you look at our socials, you'll probably see what I've just described to you around the language, like, what do I use? Shall
What do
I
I
use this?
say?
Shall I
Yeah.
use that? Are we underrepresented?
But I'm aware of the term global majority
Yeah.
because my mum has a public sector job and they are constantly up,
Yeah.
like annually,
Yeah.
like this is what we can say, this is what we
Yes.
can't say, this is what we can say, this is what we can't say. This is what we can. And I think it was her kind of not even initiation,
Yeah.
but she was the one that was like, this whole ethnic minority thing's not working for me anymore.
Yeah.
It's not working for me anymore because when I look around the room,
Yeah.
the ethnics are not the minority.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
it's
saying?
not
Like,
really making,
it's not really giving.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I completely understand when you are saying to someone like the
Yeah.
global majority, they're just going to look at you like,
What does that
what?
mean?
Yeah.
Or do they even understand that? Do the people
Yeah.
that you're talking to,
Yeah.
will they hear global
Yeah.
majority and still think white people?
We're saying global majority, but for the people listening that are
Yeah, that
what does that
nothing.
mean?
So it means other, like it means everything but white in terms
Okay.
of the way it's being used. But again, it comes down to identity because it comes down to the big Meghan Markle argument, like biracial, black,
Yeah,
white,
yeah,
like
yeah,
one
yeah.
drop rule,
Yeah.
like pencil in your hair,
Yeah.
like da da da. Which is why I was interested to ask,
Yeah.
like, because
Yeah.
I know where I've worked in the music industry, and I worked in the music industry coming into 2020 with all the campaigns, and I was at a major label, and it was the taking away of urban.
Yeah.
Everybody woke up on June 21st,
Yeah.
2020,
Yeah.
and was like,
Yeah.
you
Hated
can't
that-
say
hated-
urban.
I hated
It was
that
so
word,
crazy
though.
because I
Hated that
remember
word.
seeing how the word was being pushed
Yeah.
into
Yeah.
the industry, and then it just
Course.
became
It was the name of
Choice
a chart.
FM,
Yeah.
from Choice FM
Hated
to
it.
Capital Extra Urban Network, and it was
Hated
the
it.
number one black radio
Yeah.
Of course.
for like most of my childhood, and then one day it
course.
wasn't.
I
It was
know.
crazy.
It became urban,
yeah.
but-
Because we couldn't possibly say the word black.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. It's like that language just wasn't useful
Yeah.
because as well it was historically correct at a point
Yeah.
when black people lived in urban areas, like geographically what made somewhere a city.
It was just always black, though.
But it
was
only meant
always
black.
black.
It only meant black. So I completely, but just watching that happen, watching
Yeah.
urban fall from grace was interesting.
Do you know
watching
he's done it the other day?
BAME.
I saw in One Extra, they actually have put the word black into their marketing. I saw it on
Right.
the underground, and it's
I know.
like black radio.
Yeah, I know.
And I actually double took because I
Yeah.
was like, when did this?
Yeah.
When did this happen?
When did this happen? Yeah,
yeah.
it was like one of them like words you just wouldn't say. It's
BAME,
Yeah.
that fell from grace a while ago.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
did.
But now I don't know if it's an Americanism, but BIPOC.
Yeah,
BIPOC.
it
Oh yeah,
is,
BIPOC. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
guess.
so is PLCs. and
POC,
yeah, I use that from
like
time to time
from
as well.
time to time, yeah. But
Honestly, yeah.
people of color, even that
Yeah.
just feels regressive.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it doesn't-
yeah. Don't love it personally. I've got to be honest.
It doesn't roll off the tongue either,
No.
right? But honestly,
It's just a little bit too close to coloured person.
Yeah, just
just a bit too close.
Yeah, just a little.
I do say PLC as opposed to, but anyway, yeah. So in terms of languages terms, I just want to do away with them. I just, yeah, the language labels,
Yeah.
So-
aggregating, and
But for the sake of your data and
Yeah.
and the actual work that you do,
yeah.
people collect data in those kind of pools.
Yeah.
Well, I think really importantly, we collect data really broadly, but in terms of robust reporting, it's really impossible and very difficult to really break that data down so that you can understand, and so we can cross-tabulate, so we can look at trends if you break it down into every single subgroup. And that's why this takes place. Really.
You
So it's-
actually have a Be Inclusive Hospitality report that you produce
Yeah,
yearly.
we've
now.
produced 4 since we incorporated, actually. So the first was produced by a think tank who analysed census data on our behalf. And then since then, we run surveys every year called the Inside Hospitality Survey.
And what are they telling people?
What are the reports
Yeah.
telling people?
Like
that-
top line, I'm hoping it's changing
Yeah,
every
yeah,
year,
yeah.
but
No, it's not.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Bearing in mind, though, we started during the pandemic, so
Yeah.
it's been an interesting time in itself. We've gone from 387 respondents to this year 3,000, right? So
Wow.
the pool has grown
Incredible.
significantly. But the themes are pretty much the same in that if you are black, you're more likely to be in a 0-hour contract. If you're white, you're more likely to be higher paid. If you're Asian, you're more likely to be part-time role. There are career aspirations and positivity about the industry broadly across all races and ethnicities, but there's disparity in access.
Right.
Is the overarching
Yeah.
theme. And there's also real lack of education around EDI, specifically around race in the industry. But there is I think it's about 54% of respondents consistently have wanted to access it. So we use that data and say, okay,
Yeah.
people want to access education, and we
Yeah.
deliver a lot of workshops up and down the country on race, inclusion, and equity.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. I need to
Certain
read one
people
of
might
these.
need to read that report.
Yeah.
That
I mean,
were popping up on Instagram the other day.
Really?
Yeah, what's his name? Old Tom.
oh yeah.
He didn't read the
Oh.
report, clearly.
He didn't read the
Yeah.
report.
But you know what? And that's why we call it education and resource, because I think there are obviously people fall into one of many categories in this world, and there's some like idiots out here. But there's a lot of people that just don't know. They're uneducated and they're ignorant.
Yeah.
And I think what really amazed me as a Brummie coming down here and coming down to London being such a diverse city, but there is just such segregation in many ways in terms of how people interact. You know, people are down here in a city that is, I think, probably 50% global majority. And like are in spaces, bars, social circles with no people that don't look like them.
Yeah.
You know,
I
none.
find it
Like,
crazy.
I find, especially like moving from Birmingham, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what?
I find it crazy, and I've been in work environments like that.
Yeah.
To be honest,
Mad.
my whole career.
Yeah,
like,
facts.
which is
You and me both.
My
which
whole
is
career.
like my whole
Yeah.
career. Which I don't want to say that in terms of like I've worked 100 jobs. I've
Yeah.
worked very few amount of
Yeah,
jobs,
yeah, yeah.
but they've all pretty much had that
Yeah.
same situation.
Yeah.
But I think what's most telling to me, which as people who are growing businesses, it's easy because it's essentially, okay, you look at our business and we're one and the same.
Yeah.
So it's like, I completely understand why you start something and you grab the nearest person that you know, that you trust, whatever, and then they grab the nearest person that they know and trust, and it's likely to be birds of a feather. But I think the issue there is that people are not making an effort to be diverse or inclusive or less ignorant personally. That's where it starts,
Of
I
course
think,
it
for me.
does.
Because
Yeah, of
if
course it
all your
does.
friends, if you can't lean onto a single other person that isn't the same as you, that starts at home and
Yeah,
within your
of
friendship
course.
circles.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing that's really telling, when these people get to a point in their businesses and when they're running global or national restaurant chains and companies with massive audiences, especially online, and they're just like, but this is no different to my life. Like, it's not like I've gone out of my way to make my business white.
Well, that's
They
the
just- it's
excuse.
just-
That's
just-
the reasoning given.
Exactly. And fair enough, like, I don't want to be anyone's token black friend either. Like, but I think it starts there. If someone is listening
Yeah,
that is
definitely.
trying to start something
Yeah.
and they're worried about running into the issue of that, or not being diverse or not being inclusive in any way, probably start close.
Yeah.
Start close and make sure that your life looks
Absolutely.
like that. Because also, and this might come up in your report, it's all well and good you like hiring these people if you don't even know how to talk to them.
You know, and what I would say is that I think when you look at your kind of immediate circle or your trusted 10, and
10?
you know,
You got 10?
to be fair, I say trusted 10 because it's an exercise that we do.
Okay.
And I say this because if they look like you, then how are you learning about people that are different? And that's what you've got to question. Because if you are not actively seeking out information, you'll just fall victim to a lot of stereotypes and
Yep.
inaccurate information
Yeah.
that is out there in the ether about people like us that isn't correct, right? And I think that's what it speaks to, is actually how are you educating yourself more than anything,
exactly.
you know? And also, you know, as you said, diversity is a metric, and a lot of businesses were really pushing towards more diverse people, but actually, how do you interact? So years ago, I'm not going to mention which company, but I was on a board of a business, and the CEO, like, I'd bump into him in the kitchen, and I could tell he's never spoken to a black person before.
That's what
he was so
The uneasy,
uncomfortable.
yeah,
You know, when you can
uncomfortable.
just see
You can feel the tension.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at him, and I'm just like looking at him like, what the hell is wrong with this man?
Yeah.
You know, ultimately, fine, you don't know someone like me, but
People are...
what I was just gonna say, what am I? Like, I'm a
Yeah.
human. Like, so anyway, loads of work to do.
Yeah.
I think importantly moving in the right direction, just a huge amount of education required in the space.
So you work with businesses of all sizes, founded and owned by people of all different backgrounds.
We do.
However, let's talk about black-owned businesses.
Yeah.
Do you work with black-owned businesses? Are there black-owned businesses that still run into this kind of problem, do you find? Like, not having a diverse...
No. So to really separate it, so the businesses that we really consult with and we take on an educational journey about race are the big businesses that you would recognise, you would dine
Yeah.
out at, right?
Yeah.
In terms of the people of colour that sit within our community, we support them with access to funding, mentorship, scholarships, etc., etc. So if you are of colour, that's generally
The part of your business that
absolutely
you're working with.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's good to know.
So you're giving them like the fundamentals or the access to growth,
Growth,
Exactly.
their
Yeah,
businesses.
Exactly.
So that they
Okay.
don't end up
Exactly.
being the big companies
Yeah.
that need it in the first place.
Okay, cool.
Okay, that's
Well,
interesting.
no, sorry.
Oh, go on.
So in terms of how we support them, so mentorship, social capital, grant funding. So that one was in partnership with Uber. What else do we provide? Scholarships so people can study for free, and it's funded by a third party. So we basically want people to level up. We want to upskill and support upward social mobility for business founders from
Right.
our community.
I like that because me and Harley have been talking. And so the conversation we're constantly having is obviously we're aware of the inequality, we're aware of the lack of access. But what can we do also to help us? Are we doing everything that we can within the community to help ourselves, to empower ourselves, to put ourselves in these positions and ready ourselves for these opportunities if they do and when they do pop up? We say that because when we think about something as fundamental as like service within the industry, in the hospitality industry, which is quite service heavy, the level of service that we are perceived to provide generally is quite low. As a community, the Misery's West Indian restaurant vibes, you know what I mean? It's like, so what are we actually doing everything that we can?
Yeah, we are. And the reason why I say we are, because when I think about black-owned restaurants in the UK in particular, the why that restaurant has opened is often to serve community. When I think about, like, there's so many Caribbean restaurants that are owned by our elders, you know, that are like 10, 20 years older than me, right? And so their why was to service our community. Service was not at the forefront of their minds. It was actually about providing food of our heritage that their communities can access, right? And then you throw into the mix the fact that, I don't know if you've read this stat before, but when there's £1 of British wealth, white wealth in this country, Caribbean community have equivalent 20 pence in the pound. 20 pence in the pound, right? So when you look at disparity from an economic perspective, and also in terms of access, so whether that is access to education, that's access to finance, you look at all of these things, the playing field is not level. So I think that black communities in this country have faced huge amounts of barriers after barrier after barrier to live, let alone build a business and thrive. And then what I also add to that is, it will be no surprise to you that most of the CEOs that I've worked for or with, they're best friends with the other CEOs and they all know each other. They have a network.
It's a network.
They buy from the same people in terms of, glassware and plateware. They learn from each other in terms of how to scale a business, how to create generational wealth from a hospitality business. In the UK, this knowledge and social capital does not exist in hospitality for black businesses. So I think when you factor that in, I would say that we're doing the best we can. I think that the reason why when we think about black businesses in the UK moving forward, they're generally West African, is because in terms of when I mentioned about the Caribbean community have 20p in the pound, African community had 10 pence in the pound, but this report I think is 3 years old, and I have no doubt at all that if you look at that again, it's going to change, and there'll be a point very soon, I'd suspect, that the African community definitely
take over.
Absolutely. And so
why do you think that is?
I mean, why do I think that is?
Speculate.
No.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. But
this is the internet.
But what I was going to say is that all of these things are pretty complex in terms of the how. So if you go back to when Caribbean people came to the UK, so when we were invited here,
quote unquote,
when we were invited here, or countries, islands from the Commonwealth were invited here. You know, Jamaican community were probably the largest black community at that time, right? And we came over and we dealt with a lot of nonsense, obviously, struggled to get housing, did get housing, clubbed together, bought houses, you know, started to move forward.
Partners.
Yeah, and all
I
that
still
good
do
stuff.
my partner.
Do you?
Yeah, I will never stop doing a
Really?
partner. Yeah,
Really?
I love it. But I grew up with my mum doing it. Like
Yeah.
just in my family, it's a thing for
Yeah.
me. So it's a way that it's something probably I'll never let go of, and it's just a little something just to
So I had one years ago, you know, when I was in Birmingham. I can't remember how long ago, but that's interesting.
Yeah.
Keeping the culture
You
alive.
might do a
I love
social
it.
Sonder and Salt partner.
Oh.
Molly said no, thank you.
No, but I'm sitting here shocked because I mentioned a partner to you like 3 days ago. You didn't tell me this.
How? Don't remember. Anyway, continue, Lorraine.
And then you look at you know, people from different parts of Africa coming over. Obviously, kind of the time span of like a decade or so continue to build, and then people were coming over who were doctors, nurses to fill the labour
Skilled
gap.
labour,
Like,
yeah.
you know, I think that there's a combination of reasons here, but also obviously slavery happened, and obviously slavery did happen also in parts of Africa too, but our history is very different, our starting point is very different, and so if your starting point is very different, your outcomes will be very different, right?
Especially, in this country.
In this country,
yeah.
Or
Again,
we're
it's about
in whatever country.
sure.
So we
Yeah,
currently
yeah,
been
yeah.
listened to in 80 countries. So we
Yeah.
have to add a
Yeah.
little,
In
add a little
the
context.
in the UK.
In the point, at the point
Yeah.
of us recording this, that's how we feel
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
about the landscape. That is completely
Yeah.
true. Like
Yeah.
the disparity. And not to say disparity in terms of like super negatively, but there is a difference.
There's a difference.
There's a
There's
difference.
difference.
Like
I think it's important to
Acknowledge that.
and not to just take the situation where we're at right now,
Yeah.
because like you said,
course.
these things have
You
roots
can't
and go back
ignore
to
the past, because
Yeah.
it's informed the future, right?
yeah.
But I also think I think that's interesting because we do look back a lot, but I think there's an expectation, especially people are not as well travelled as they like to think they are. But I've not been to West Africa. I've not been to Africa at all. But I just can tell from the way that it's documented online, the way my friends experience it, that even the development on the continent is different to what's going on in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Like where we're currently at in terms of
is.
back home,
It
massive
is.
air quotes.
Yeah.
The landscape is different.
Yeah.
The money that's
It
coming
is.
back and forward
It is economic
different.
growth.
The
is
economic
very
growth,
different. Yeah.
But you know what? I
the
will
support,
say,
the sending money,
Yeah.
sending money back home, but also money coming
Yeah.
from back home. That's only happening
Yeah.
in one of these cultures. It's not happening
But
in both ways.
I think when you look at somewhere like Ghana from the outside looking in economically, there's so much opportunity there. There's a lot going on there. Without knowing all of the facts, there's a lot of Chinese investment in somewhere like Ghana, and so it's like
And Jamaica.
as well. But that for example,
Yeah.
that kind of it's like the money is there, but you
Yeah.
also have to kind of look behind the smoke
Yeah, of
screens
course,
a little
of
bit to see
course.
what's really going
But
on.
you make
But there's
a-
opportunity there, and
You make a valid
I
point
do
there.
think there are people that are investing
Yeah.
more.
But the Chinese investment and the general Asian investment into Africa has been happening for longer. The Chinese investment into Jamaica specifically, which I can only, that's the one I've seen with my eyes.
Yeah.
That's the one I've seen with
Since-
my
since
eyes.
new roads,
Is
highways.
yeah, it's since highway. Like
Yeah.
that's not 20, 30 years. That's like 10.
Yeah.
Like 5, 10. And even that has been met with a lot of hostility. So I didn't think to ask, but I'm glad we've had this little bit of the conversation to say like the playing field is not level between the ethnic groups or the countries or the continents at all, let alone then the second generation British born person from that community. Like I think that's another thing. We kind of start measuring from how far back were you born here? Like that's where we start. So if you're, I don't know, Nigerian grandma and then your mum was born here. Okay, cool, same here.
Yeah.
Not the same. Not the same.
Yeah. I think history is just, it's really important to understand and recognize in terms of looking at where we are here and now, and also what happens in the future. So
The initial question that was just asked, so we went off on a crazy tangent, was, are we doing enough?
Oh yeah,
So
yeah, I forgot that.
we're doing the best we can
I
with what
believe
we
so.
got.
Yeah.
I believe
With what
so.
we got. What? Oh, what's up there?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna add to that by
Go
saying
on.
we're doing the best we can, but I think that many people start businesses for different reasons, right? And I really do believe, with the experiences that I've had in takeaways to restaurants, people start businesses in hospitality and food for the love of the food, right? And love of the culture and wanting to share that.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, you know, in some instances, these individuals, great heart, great talent, but not armed with the skills and the know-how on how to do that and build a successful business. And customer services being a really important part in that, right? Some people just don't know what they don't know. And I always try and lead with empathy, especially when it comes to our community, because, like, there's been some challenges. There's continue to be some challenges, right? And it's tough out here.
What I was going to ask you is, what is if we're doing the best we can with what we got, what's the next thing we need?
Yeah.
Ooh, in terms of to do what? Like,
in terms of to level up.
Yeah.
Like,
Continuous improvement.
Continuous.
Yeah.
So we know, well, is it access to money? Like, what do you think the next thing is? So we discussed this a lot. Give the listeners a insight to behind the Sonder Assault scenes in terms of like how to grow this podcast.
Yeah.
Like, there are 100 ways to grow this
of course.
podcast.
Yeah.
What's the next? What's the first one? What's the most important one that is going to be the best stepping stone to potentially for others?
Yeah.
Is it investment within the community? Is it business plans?
It's not any one thing. You know, like, you'll have seen this year the amount of, like, even black female led businesses that have accessed investment that have gone under.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking. It's not any one thing, because investment alone is not going to result in someone thriving if you don't have business know-how and know how to run a business.
The money just blow very quickly.
And quite easily.
Yeah, very quickly.
You know, sustaining a business requires so many hats. You have to wear so many hats, do so many things, absolutely access investment. But what is that next thing?
Is it investment, but that isn't monetary? Is it more like a Dragon's Den model or a like Alan Sugar model where yes, we'll give you money, but it comes with me.
Of course.
Like, it comes with me. I think there's just too much.
Yeah.
And I know what you're talking about in terms of like watching some of these businesses that have got funding go under, and there's some
money at it.
just throwing money at it, and like just going for seed
Yeah.
funding, like angel investment,
Yeah.
and people potentially wanting to tick the boxes that we spoke about at the beginning. Like, there's some people out there that have got money that want to say they've got
they attach
got a
it to
hand, like,
different things.
Oh yeah, I've invested in a black-owned
Of course.
business or whatever. And I think personally, I wonder if it's if it's to encourage any listener that has a business that they don't just need money, that the money needs to come. There has to be some value, especially if that person's expecting something back.
Yeah.
Like,
But you've said education quite a bit, Lorraine, and I think fundamentally, for me anyway, the basis of anything is to be educated and to have the knowledge. And so whether you're going to seek the knowledge when you get the money, or you're going to acknowledge that in order for me to grow this thing, I need to educate myself. On, this is a business.
Absolutely.
So I need to seek out that business knowledge to try and run my business as best as I can. It's not a little, if that's what you want, that's fine. But if you are trying to grow a business and scale a business, you have to treat it like a business, not a passion project or anything else.
And now you've said that, I've got three things that I think are like really essential. One is access to money. So whether that's investment or otherwise. The other is social capital. It's so valuable and so undervalued.
What do you mean by that?
Social capital, your network.
Yeah.
Right? Accessing people that can either connect you with someone that knows, or know someone that knows, or is that person that knows.
Yeah.
Hugely powerful. It's played such a huge role in our journey, my personal journey, essential, and education as well. So when you think about those three things, so if you really understand how to run a business and what you need to do to run a business, the types of people you need around you to run that business, as well as having money, as well as having a network, I'd say those are the kind of three key things that come to mind immediately.
Yeah.
So then the next step for a lot of these businesses...
It's an exhaustive list.
So it seems then that of those three things, there is money going around, and that potentially the thing that's letting some of our businesses down that we want to support is the other two things.
Yeah.
Because there is money going around. There's money out there.
There's money out there, but do you know what percentage black founders access?
Yeah.
Please
I
tell
think
us.
from a venture, literally earlier today, speaking to someone that runs a business and they produce research on venture capital investment, and they released a report in 2020, and they looked over a 10-year period, and 0.24%, I believe, of
0.2.
0.24% of VC investment went to black founders, and it was something like 0.002 or 0.02% went to black female founders. So something to that effect. Look it up. I can't remember the
less than half a percent.
Yeah, literally. Point.
Like,
the point is there.
Yeah, like less than half a
And
percent.
so understand this.
Is that UK based data? Sorry.
Yes.
UK based data.
Yeah. So understand this. Like, I mentioned I've worked for some major brands. Gordon Ramsay being one. He's the most famous chef in the world. It's not his money that has scaled his business to be global. Understand this. And he's a really talented chef. He's a really nice person with great interpersonal skills.
That was one of our questions.
I love a bit of gold.
You meet someone and you can see beyond him being a talented chef, you can see why he's moved forward. He's just got something about him.
Yeah, his charisma.
How he interacts. It's just you better believe it's not his money that has resulted in him having a estate across the US, the Middle
academies,
East, France,
chains,
up and down the UK.
TV
It's
shows.
a whole global operation. Like it's crazy.
It's not his money.
Yeah.
He's very wealthy, but it's not his money.
Yeah.
And so understand this with hospitality. I hear people often throw around the term of generational wealth in hospitality. And I sometimes think a lot of people don't really understand what that means. Gordon Ramsay's estate will be generational wealth. The Soho House Group will be generational wealth. The patty shop is not generational wealth.
No, we need the camera. We need to.
And I say the patty shop is not. If the patty shop could become a global empire, our community's perception on hospitality would completely transform. More people would want to move into the sector too. And it's possible.
I think acknowledging that there is a process and there is a way to do something is important to get yourself. If you don't know what you need to get ready for, you'll never be ready. Like that's just the reality of the situation. So you have to, like we always say to each other, stay ready so you don't have to get ready because you don't know, like you said, the network is important. You could be talking to that person and you're not ready, and he's just gonna think, or he or she, whoever is just gonna think, this person's not serious.
Yeah.
You say you've got a little business, but you don't know your numbers. You don't have a plan. Where you had mentioned about the amount of investment the amount of VC venture capital investment that goes into the black community and even beyond that to black women. Is there enough of us even taking that chance, taking that step, particularly in any industry, but particularly within the hospitality industry? But there isn't necessarily always the respect for the hospitality industry from the community. It's people just see it as, why would you want to go and cook, and you're not going to make no money off of that. Like you said, there's other things you can do that seem more attractive, like going into medicine or something science-based. So how do we kind of get people to understand the wealth within the hospitality industry outside of the money, just in terms of the fact that you've worked in supply and purchasing? That's the hospitality industry, but it's still a different area.
And the thing is, I think around the money side, I think be under no illusion that if you're in head office in hospitality, you're earning a very good salary, like a very, very good salary. And I'm not motivated by money, but I wouldn't have been there for as long as I was if I wasn't earning a really good salary. Like really good, comparable to what you earn in the city, like good money. I think that a lot of people don't know, a lot of people don't know about hospitality as an industry. I used to go to networking events all the time with Sips and Dollars Dishwater. But when I used to tell people what I do, they'd be like, oh, I didn't know. Because people were buying computers and oil and IT systems, all this dull stuff, which I would never in my life be interested in procurement in that area. But I was buying champagne, wine, food, crockery, glassware, everything you see within a restaurant, my team and I would buy. So I was travelling to France to drink champagne.
The good old days.
And to be fair, in my position, I was selective on the trips I went on. But if you like food and drink and you don't want to stand in a restaurant working as an operator, and there's just a breadth of different types of roles that exist. But for me, procurement, absolutely thought there would be nothing that I would do for a career that I enjoy more. And I do enjoy Be Inclusive Hospitality more, and still keep my toe dipped in on the procurement side.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's so enjoyable because hospitality is a hospitable industry. There are loads of amazing people. Amazing people, and to buy things that you're personally interested in is just like a dream. And I once said to like one of my old bosses years ago that I would only ever leave this industry for fashion. But then I heard about the fashion industry and I was like, no, I'm not going anywhere.
No, not doing that.
I'm not going anywhere.
That's super interesting.
Yeah.
Because I think that might be kind of just to go back to what you said about people starting businesses, but they're not necessarily the business leader. But you can be the ideator of something and then outsource the things that you're not strongest at. And it doesn't take away from you being the founder of the thing.
Definitely
and
not.
I think there are a lot of people that I've like nosed around on LinkedIn and just generally that are incredible founders, but they are not the CEO. And I think that takes a lot of self-awareness and skill.
Of course it does.
To say, I have this incredible idea for this food concept or, you know, I've curated the menu, I've like everything about this is me, but I'm not good at that. Like I can't do this thing and I don't know how to barter, I don't know how to organize and that kind of thing. And I think people, myself included, try and do everything and then fail. And I think definitely I hope if anyone is listening particularly to get these gems from Lorraine about like what it takes to start a business or scale a business, that being the jack of all trades, master of none is not the way to grow.
It works for a period of time to get it started. But in terms of scaling, you know, what excites me most about my business at the moment, we're now in a position where I can employ people and I can't wait to bring on my person. So I had someone before who left, but the person to oversee marketing and events and all that jazz, and then bring on someone to really develop, nurture our partnerships, because I love doing them all, but actually I'm the CEO of the business. I needn't be doing them all. Like I need to get the right people in place so that I can focus on the mission longer term and also do all of my own like passion projects outside of the business. So
they do say that like a good leader is clear on what they're not good at, and they're good at identifying the people that are good at those things, and to build that empire.
Definitely. I would say though, as a leader, and this isn't me being big-headed, I'm quite well-rounded. You know, I genuinely am.
No, give yourself the flowers.
I am, but I don't have time on my side. So when you don't have time, the quality of everything just like
100%.
You know, I'm quite mad, but anyway.
Well, more on Lorraine. Let's talk more on Lorraine. Your career, we touched on it here and there. How have you managed to get to this position? You're a relatively extremely young woman sitting here.
Spring chicken.
Spring chicken sitting here, and I just feel like you do hear some of this information if you're interested from the people sitting on the Dragon's Den panel that are like 60 years in, retired already, just got money on their hands, whatever, they know how to do it all. You're very much still in it, but I mean, I've looked at your LinkedIn.
Well, yeah, we had a browse,
and it's like you've I don't want to say like flown through the ranks. You've done solid stints at companies, but how have you managed to be in this position of founding your own successful business? And keeping your toe in that other world and having such a well-rounded like career and everything in an industry that you acknowledge is not built to allow you to do this.
Okay, I'd say this. I'd say that I think it's been a combination of things. So I am not the person that's going to sit here and say, you know, if you pull yourself up by your bootstraps and work hard, you can make
24 hours in the day.
You can make it. You can do it. I'm not that person. But what I will say is there's a combination of factors that have contributed to me moving forward. There's one is actually being able to apply myself and being effective in producing impact. And what I mean by that is why I love procurement and supply chain is because you can quantify it. You could never debate with me whether I added value. We saved £750,000. Like, what is there to talk about? Do you know what I mean? And that's why I loved it. I always had it like.
I think that's why I like it too. Because I work in supply chain.
Can't debate it.
The numbers are the number. It's so data driven.
Exactly.
That once something has been executed and you can justify it in the data, it's there.
There's nothing to say here. So that's one thing. The second is something I love about my career today and love now is people. Love building relationships and collaborating with people. That has served me well. and some luck as well, I would say, has definitely played its part. And I think my personality has enabled me to kind of be in spaces that haven't always been pleasant, but find people to align with that are great and that have supported me on my career. What I would say though is when you look at my career and you look at progress, that is not something that I sat there thinking, oh, I want to be a director, I want to be... That wasn't even a thing for me personally. I just tried to really focus and being present in every situation I was in. And then after, I'd say like for the past, since 2007, I've not applied for a job.
Oh, the opportunities have come to you.
They found me.
Yeah,
Nice.
that's crazy.
Since 2007.
2007, we're in 2023,
No,
you know?
sorry, was it 2007? It was 2011. So I started that job in 2007. In 2011, I got overlooked for a promotion. And I remember the company called me on my work phone, like, landline.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, hello, are you calling me at work?
Yeah.
A job?
That's so cheeky.
And we got off on the wrong foot, but then I got to like them because then the role and anyway. So yeah, since 2011, not applied for a job.
Headhunting and or being headhunted.
Yeah, but I think it's good that you've acknowledged that some of it is your personality, your mentality as well. Me and Harley are always talking about personality and just like keeping ourselves in a particular mental state to be progressive as well, and to acknowledge that how you show up as well to people is important.
Because something I missed from this, which is really important, and it's been like a key thread throughout my life, is mindset and psychology. So I studied psychology at college, loved it, and since that time it's been my I never really read non-fiction books in a big way. Always read like NLP books, neuro-linguistic programming, coaching books, mindset books, like always. And then 2018 did a life coaching diploma. And for me, is why I'm here now, because I just really got to know myself in a way. But point making is that I firmly believe mindset is everything. And that definitely has been such a major part of my journey. I am the kind of person that if I try something or I want something and the door's closed, I'll find another door. And I'll continue to find a door until I get one. I'm relentless in like my pursuit of what I want if I'm driven to achieve something. And also looking after yourself as well, because we're humans, right? I'm just telling you all of this because I think all of them together as a combination has contributed to me moving forward,
100%.
as well as my friends and family and all of those
everything.
But mindset.
Mindset.
I meet people all the time.
These germs are landing.
I meet people all the time that are
God.
Is this for the listeners or is this for us?
These germs are landing.
I meet so many people all the time that are amazing talents, great business ideas, like should be soaring, and they're in their own way.
Wow. Wow.
We'll take that one offline.
Yeah.
Well, no, I appreciate you adding that piece of context, because what I was going to say as you were going through the list, I was like, why isn't she saying confidence? Why isn't she saying confidence? I was like, why isn't she saying confidence? Because it's like, we met you in I've met you in very particular circumstances, and even, obviously those are not the difficult circumstances that I've met you, like at amazing dinners and panel talks and places where you're really thriving and confident and they're positive places for you to be in. But to be in those positive places and be the most confident person in the room or the most confident person in the panel, like when we saw you speak at the British Library food season this year, and there were points and questions that you were being asked where you were definitely not afraid to be different to the other people on the panel, and you were not afraid to say the truth of the matter, and like you're very well informed, like you're literally coming out with statistics on top of your head, knowing what studies they're from and things like that. And those are the things that is the education that you're saying that the community needs,
and it's empowering to know your stuff, to know what you're talking about.
We said this when we spoke to Melissa Thompson on a couple of episodes ago, which was basically that we find what she's done in documenting Jamaican food and the research very brave. Like to be the person that's going to do that thing and be like, right, feed it to the lions, this is what Jamaican food is, and like run back in. That's very brave. I think the same thing applies to you, like to be the person that's going to like stick your neck out and kind of speak on behalf of the community, but kind of not. Like that's a dangerous place to be in anyway. But that takes a confidence that you don't just wake up one day and decide to do that kind of thing, or to found a business, to be in a pandemic, like all of the things that you've done. And this is us giving you your flowers is very much that what you're doing is incredible, and that don't like be too humble about it, because it's like I don't know you. I don't know you. I'm asking these questions for the sake of that. Yes, it's interesting for the listener, but like it's interesting for me too. Like I want to know this stuff, and it's you're so interesting, so brave, and I think the confidence is there.
It exudes.
It's inspiring. Like I have absolutely no interest in opening a hospitality business like in that scale, but it's inspiring just listening to the little things that you're saying. But
just talking to you both, what I think what you would do potentially, I think what I would do if you had an investor come to you and say, here's £5 million, you love the hospitality industry. I will give you this money conditionally on you doing something to imprint who you are, your culture, your food on the UK hospitality scene. What does that look like?
I have an idea of what that looks like for me personally. Okay. Because I have a Dragon's Den idea that I've had since I was about 11. I've had Dragon's Den since I was about 11. It was me and my cousin sitting in Jamaica, and I've got a little idea of what that looks like. It's not something I've ever really properly revisited. But if there was £5 million on the table, I'd come up with a few things. I don't know. It's an interesting question.
I would open a restaurant, and I'd open a hair chain, as in selling hair products with hairdressers inside too. But I'd definitely, when I was about 14 or 15, I came up with like Lorraine's restaurants, which obviously has now been done.
Really?
I wrote a business plan and everything. Yeah. So that's always been like, I love food. I love our culture. And, when you think about, I don't know if your parents did, but my dad, was an avid pub goer in Birmingham. There's loads of Caribbean pubs, in the 90s, 80s, 90s, playing his dominoes. There was good music. There was food.
There's probably a jerk pan at the back.
Of course, the vibe. And when you think about pubs, I worked in the pub industry, and if the pub is black owned or black run, the environment that you're able to communicate is just create is beautiful.
Well, there's what's the one in South London?
Prince Peckham.
Yeah, Prince Peckham. And
Clement.
it's popular.
It's popular.
It is. Yeah.
But and don't get me wrong, Noel Clem is amazing, and what I love is he serves all parts of the community, and it's amazing space. But he has created what I love about pubs. But what I would love to create is a restaurant / pub type chain that is centered in our community. And if I had £5 million, I'd definitely do that, because I have the know-how. You would not see me in the restaurant apart from eating there and socializing there. There would have to be a team to execute. But with someone else's money, with like huge investment, I'd do that.
Mine,
I really would.
and I spoke about this last night at dinner actually. One of mine, not the one I'm thinking of is actually a black wedding venue. So when I say that, I feel like when we have, there are very particular elements to black weddings, some of which you can kind of homogenize. But say, for example, Nigerians like an entrance. The venues are not necessarily designed around a way that can make an entrance work. Like, I feel like what we often do is put our weddings in Asian spaces because of the similarities, like a good Indian wedding with a horse entrance, or it kind of, there's
and the grandeur in the decor.
But there's also other parts of it, like we like to drink. Some of the Asian venues, Asian-owned venues, don't cater to that aspect of things. A hall party, having a venue that allows people to get food without queuing in a way that I feel like there's a lot of things about venues that are square rooms that are not around blackness. Like our weddings, we like to have a live band and a DJ. We like to have a dance floor. We like to have our elders there in a way that people are going to need to sit down. I just think there's so many things. Every time I go to a black wedding, I'm just like, this ain't mine. Like, this ain't mine. But it's to no fault of the people getting married. They probably don't want it like that either. Soundproofing. Like having it somewhere that is accessible. We like to drive. We like to drive like probably depending on the wedding, but like big car pools of like wedding party and stuff like that. I think that would be my £5 million idea, because there's that massive one they've put on the A406 near Tottenham. Near what was the IKEA.
It's North London, isn't it?
Sorry.
Don't go there.
That
not
place,
true, I'm joking.
That place is making bread.
Yeah, it's expensive.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it nice?
I've never been inside. For me, you're on the A406. You're already at a loss for me personally, but I've heard like inside, it's really, really pretty.
It's grand. It's like, it's not one venue, but it's a massive venue. It's got multi-rooms, it's got car parks, it's got all sorts. But I think that would be my £5 million hospitality.
I want a
Does that count?
B&B.
Is that hospitality?
Yeah, of course it is. It's events.
I want a little B&B, but I would have a restaurant. But I like not a B&B, a boutique hotel.
Okay,
that's what I would like to be run in a very particular way,
that would be
because
nice,
I think the hospitality that I have grown up with, the level of detail that I'm used to, and the small little niceties that I'm used to in the hospitality, just from what I've experienced and what I've grown up in, and the kind of intimate, homely feel that you can create. I would like that, but I would like a restaurant that I'd never have to lift a finger in. Never with a menu. The way that I like. The service that I like. Nice open kitchen, cocktails. Probably what would be called a fusion global menu, kind of global fusion type of. So not global,
you know
per
what I
se.
mean? What
No,
does that mean?
because I say global because it wouldn't be just Jamaican. It would probably be a bit more. Obviously, when you're running a business, you kind of have to give people what they want, but there would be a part of it that is centered around what I like or my experiences. And I don't eat Jamaican food every single day, and some of my favorite dishes, beyond ackee saltfish and breadfruit, are not Jamaican. So I think within the African diaspora, Black community, there's so many things that can be explored and put on a menu in a way that actually gels well together, and it's not clashing. That I would want something like that. We had an episode in the early days, and Harley asked me if I had rice and peas on my menu, and I probably wouldn't. If I'm being honest.
Would I? I think I would.
Yeah. You keeping it traditional?
Fairly.
For a Jamaican restaurant.
I think fairly. I think that my desire to open a restaurant, if I did, it's not like a urge or anything, but would be around culture and sharing culture through food. And I think that our food's the best, and people need to know. No, I'm only joking. No, I do believe our food is great. And I think that I want people to access and enjoy what I've enjoyed for my entire life. So it would be more from that than anything.
My rogue idea, if there's like a spare milli or something,
spare milli
or something, would actually be, and this is my controversial opinion.
Go on. Pizza or something.
I might not open. If I opened a food business, it might not. No, it just might not be black food.
Okay, that's fine now. That's
like, because in my head, I'm like, I need a scalable business that is commercially viable.
Black food is both of those, by the way.
It is. It is. But for me, if it's like $1 million,
you're just trying to do what you know is high guaranteed.
Big margins. Big margins. I want big margins. So I feel like I would do that.
The ackee alone on the menus are wiping out.
Listen, curry goat. That's why we don't have that. Because
but that's the thing. Now, so imagine like if we scale, if we have a chain, if we have a big restaurant, then economies of scale come in. Then instantly we're buying better, our prices come down, and that's why it's important for us to be able to do these things like scale our businesses. Because we pay less. You've got your one restaurant with your couple tins a week.
Honestly,
you pay retail price, right?
$5.99.
Exactly.
Basically. I found Ackee and Aldi this week. It was on the middle aisles.
Whose overstock was that?
Serious?
They've got a section of, it's not Tropical Sun.
I don't.
It's the other brand that's similar looking. It's the one at Sun Aisle. The one I don't
Do you know what? Sun Aisle Ackee, sometimes it's like the tin shook.
Sun Aisle?
Yeah.
Well,
and it's
maybe when I open
it. Is that a North
it...
London thing? Or,
maybe when I open it, that's what's going to be the story. But for some reason, they had a whole section, like, just all the kind of tube, like, all the seasonings. They had jerk sauce, barbecue sauce, and a few things. And then they had ackee on the red tag, down from $6.99 to $5.29.
Okay, not bad.
Yeah, the big tin too. The big tin.
Yeah, the sundial though sometimes
right.
it's mash. It's like ackee mush.
I've got to let the buyer at Aldi know that somebody was interested. Do you know what I mean? When they look through the till and they're like, "Oh, we sold one." We've got the audience there. The audience there. Bring next spring with some Scotch bonnet, and then I'll shop there more regularly. One question I actually want to ask you: you run an awards.
We do. Oh, I can't wait.
You run an awards.
I can't wait.
It is probably by the time you hear this, it's going to happen in October, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so this might just align with it happening. But just tell us a little bit about it. So for listeners that want to potentially nominate or be nominated for 2024.
Yep.
What's it about?
The BIH Spotlight Awards was founded last year to celebrate like exceptional talent within the industry, talent and cuisine. So I say cuisine because we have 5 cuisine specific categories. We have African food, we have Caribbean food, we have South Asian, Middle Eastern, Eastern Southeast Asian. And then we celebrate chefs, brands, drinks professionals. It represents the hospitality industry, but having worked in the sector for 2 decades, I've been to every award ceremony in our industry. Very rarely does anyone who look like us get recognised, and if they do, it's not necessarily for their cuisine.
Right.
I don't see Caribbean or African food in bright lights ever in the industry, and I wanted to change that. It's an extension of our social mission aims, because well-being is important. If you're in an industry doing amazing things, never seen, never recognised, that can take a toll, right? So we're at a point at the moment where judging starts on the platform on Monday, the judging platform. And what I love is when I was looking through the nominations, there's loads of people I've never heard of and I don't know. Like, where have you been hiding?
I felt the same way when I went onto the Black Eats directory. And I was just flicking through, just by area. I just did it on map, and I was just kind of like, near me? What do you mean? Because my and this is laziness on my part, is like I'll jump on Deliveroo and see what's nearby. I won't go on like Google Maps. If I went on Google Maps, it would have come up. But some of these businesses, might not be using those kind of platforms and stuff like that. So I do think, it's super interesting. I've been seeing you push for nominations for even more people's name to be in the hat.
It's good.
So I'm glad that it's
great.
Loads of
joy.
People. You got a big fan. You are excited about this.
It is joy. And obviously we work with a lot of big brands, so we get a lot of sponsorship, and we've got some great brands this year. And then we bring together a community. So we've got like your Moet Hennessy's and your Camparis of this world as sponsors, but then we also make sure we have Black-owned and Asian-owned brands, drinks brands. And then we've obviously got, we had Chisaru catered last year. So it's just like our partners and our community coming together and eating, drinking, celebrating brilliant people. And the vibe is just a vibe. We've just got the most amazing DJ that Ravneet Gill introduced us to. And I'm
a super fan.
He is, mate, he's just amazing. He's so good. So I can't wait. You can see the excitement.
Literally, I can't. I'll just ask you anything else to add on. You're like, no, I'm not really sure. The awards. Yes. Okay, perfect, fantastic. Malika, your favourite questions?
Right. Now that we've got all that stuff out of the way,
all the good stuff,
all the good stuff, the more important questions, or pertinent questions. What is your controversial food opinion? What is it that's on your chest that you need to get off your chest?
Controversial.
So previous guests and ourselves have said things like, I think Melissa said, I don't need to see another chili oil recipe.
She's bored.
Like, she's bored of the recipes that people are spitting out on social media. Are you gungo peas or kidney beans?
So growing up I was gungo. But now,
let's stop it there. Let's end right there.
Now I prefer kidney.
Really?
Actually, they're meaty. They're
delicious.
No way.
Yeah.
Gungo peas
when I was
every day.
younger, I love gungo peas.
I love gungo peas.
Love
the
them.
flavour of them.
Oh, delicious.
Yeah. But do you know what? Kidney bean takes up too much space against the rice grains.
Oh no, but I like that.
That's what I don't like. That's what I don't like.
Meaty.
That's why when
you gotta get the ratio right though, because if you get the right amount, then it's just like
one pea is one pea too many. That's how I feel.
Okay, do you have a guilty pleasure?
Food, broadly.
Something that you eat in secret. Do you eat anything in secret?
Secret?
Not secret, but like you
Like
know
Little
that this
Miss-
is a bit of nonsense.
Yeah, Little Miss Gluten Avoidant over there likes a little midnight salt beef bagel.
I do. I love it.
Dude, I tell you what I love. Oh, chocolate cornflake cakes.
Oh, like the ones that you get from like Marks and
Clusters.
Spencer's.
Yeah.
They're delicious. And I'll wax off a box like
Yeah.
because they're so nice. Because the thing about them is that they're not overly sweet.
Yeah.
Because the cornflakes takes the kind of
And the butter.
edge off. Yeah. And
They're fatty, but they're
so
not.
you can just sit. I can be doing something.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think it was about 20 in a box.
Where do you get yours from? Do
Yeah.
you have like a favourite?
So I get them generally. Tesco's is where I shop. But near where my mum used to live, there was a Asda, and during the pandemic, I went home for a period. And Asda have got ones with Cadbury's chocolate.
I was just about to
Now,
say, do you know about the Cadbury
interestingly-
ones?
I don't eat Cadbury's chocolate. I
Yeah.
only eat like good
Lint,
quality
lint.
chocolate.
No,
Yeah,
even lint.
dark.
Yeah. Well, lint.
Green
and
Even-
black.
A little green and black,
I
little
go
bit of
to-
chocolate.
I go to like exactly. So like if I'm in
Yeah.
Victoria, I'll go and buy a selection of chocolates and put them in my tin.
Yeah.
And then when I fancy something sweet, I'll have them with some tea. But anyway, but so
Sounds
I
like a
don't.
guilty pleasure.
I don't generally eat like Cadbury's chocolate. I find it just too sugary. But on cornflake cakes,
Yeah, them cornflakes were bad. I was gonna ask you if you knew about them. I got put onto them in the office.
they're
Because
delicious.
I was surrounded by younger people.
Yeah,
And their snack game is different.
yeah, really.
Their snack game is different. I saw
I
Chloe
don't
sat
really
next to
snack.
Chloe sat next to me one time. She had mini eggs,
Yeah.
these cluster things,
Yeah.
and something else on the other side. I think Cat eats squashies.
Okay.
And I was like, back in my day, those were called drumsticks. Like, what's all these little
Oh, yeah,
things?
yeah,
and
they're like
then
the
Chloe
sticks
was
now,
like, want
yeah.
one? And I was like, same as you. I don't really eat chocolate. I was just, and you know, like that proper chocolate Cadbury's Magnum advert where the camera zooms inside their retina,
Yeah.
and you're like having a childhood memory.
Honestly,
That's
they're
how I felt. They
delicious.
were.
I might
yeah.
try it.
I love cornflake
They're really good.
cakes. I love them.
Okay.
I really do.
Thank you for being here with
No
us
problem.
today,
It's been good
Lorraine.
to talk.
It has. Many of the gems have landed for us. If you're listening and you're wondering what's the point of this episode, it was for me and Malaka. It was a personal project, to be honest with you. But no, this is a very important part of conversations that we're having this month around Black history. It's a conversation that we should be having all year round anyway. And we are obviously framing all these conversations with making Black history, because that is what we are all sitting here trying to do.
Facts.
Facts. So, happy Black History Month, or happy whatever by the time you listen to this episode. We're aware
Yeah.
people listen to the podcast like 6 months later and
Yeah.
discover it at any point of the year. So,
Black History Month is in October.
it is in the UK. So, that is the point of us putting this episode out initially. But thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being here, and we will catch you on the next episode.
Bye, guys. Say bye.
Bye. Bye.